So, King Farouk I of Egypt was such a bad monarch. Not only would he crash the Egyptian monarchy, he'll end up taking down the British Empire with him. How did he manage that? Let's have a look. So he comes to power about 1936, and he is one of these boy kings. He's only like 16 at the time, born into wealth, absolute narcissist. And he has this born to rule attitude, which isn't helped by the fact that the British want to keep a puppet in Egypt to keep the place pacified. This is a recipe for disaster. So in 1937, so he's only just taken power, there's this Anglo-Egyptian treaty where the British basically say, we're going to take and maintain total control of the Suez Canal. And the rest of Egypt, you're still part of the British Empire, but you've got a bit of independence. You can have a bit of autonomy, do things as you will. And Farouk, you're in charge. So run it how you see fit. This is a disaster. So immediately after his coronation tour, this is about the same time, he goes on this massive UK coronation tour, and he's in Britain, just touring all of Britain in these really expensive custom-made Bentleys. He's spending money like there's no tomorrow. He's buying every rare artifact he can find. Absolute hedonism. And he's using Egyptian state money to do all of this. So immediately he's not very popular, even with his own people. It also doesn't go down too well with the British people, who don't like seeing a foreign monarch really showing off in their country. So he doesn't really have friends anywhere. Then, of course, World War II breaks out, and this is the first of his great moments of ineptitude. When the war breaks out, and remember at this point, Egypt is an important strategic target for everyone, because the Suez Canal, which, if you don't know, connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. It's one of the most important trade routes in the entire world. Any normal ruler of Egypt at this time would go, damn, we're in a lot of danger here. We better start fortifying. We better get ready for a war, because it could come from anywhere. The Germans are coming. The Italians are coming. The British might use this as an opportunity to really solidify their hold over it. None of this goes through Farouk's mind. The only thing he's thinking of is, how can I make the most money from this situation? And immediately he just starts diverting the war funds, the war supplies, everything to his own personal treasury. His palaces are overflooding with food while the people, Egyptian people, are really struggling. Basically, any of the munitions and war goods coming in from Britain in the port, half of them just disappear. No one knows how or why. Farouk's like, what? I don't know. Like, the corruption is just off the chain. And to add insult to injury, Farouk's kind of likes the Axis. Like, he likes Germany and the Italians, and he kind of wants to switch sides. This is running through his mind a lot. And the British will be forced to surround one of his palaces with tanks just to remind him which side he's supposed to be on. So throughout the war, Farouk is just embezzling and stealing everything that isn't nailed down. He will use this time and all this money to build up one of the biggest luxury car collections in the world. He has like 100 of like these, like Bentleys and Ferraris, all these amazing cars. And all the Egyptian people are suffering. This is wartime. Things are not going well. Everyone has to ration, and here's him just spending all of their money just absolutely frivolously. So eventually the war ends, and wouldn't you know it, Farouk's on the winning side, and he loves that. And this becomes the age of self-determination. So after World War II, there's this real mood in the world that countries should have a right to choose their own path, right? This was a war about imperialism, and a lot of countries have had enough of the imperial powers. They blame imperialism and colonialism for a lot of both of the actions in both world wars. And the British are sweating at this because they hold more colonies than anyone else. So when the whole world's talking about self-determination, and this is when the UN is founded, and this is the high watermark of international law. Everyone takes it very seriously at this point. And the British are worried because, again, they have a lot of colonies, and what's going to happen? So after the war, he has all this money from it, and he starts to just spend it crazy. He's in Monte Carlo, at all the casinos, holding these big lavish parties in Paris and London, again, all using state funds. And the people in Egypt are getting a little bit sick of this dude at this point. He has never been anything but trouble. But for now, things are stable enough, they're going to let it go. Then the 1946 Egyptian election happens. They have a parliament, and it is supposed to have actual power. But Farouk gets in the way of the elections and just starts installing all of these loyalists and sycophants and people that will not, there's complete yes men that are all in his power. A few years after this is when the European colony of Israel is set up in Palestine, and a bunch of the Arab countries at the time will go and try and stop this from happening. It's known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, and King Farouk will be on the Arab side of this. But Farouk being Farouk, and he loves a good war because it is his best chance to embezzle things. That's exactly what he does. So he goes personally to oversee these weapons contracts to get the Egyptian army the best equipment they can get to fight this war. But what he really does is go there, buys the cheapest shit he can possibly get, and just embezzles the rest of the funds. And so the Egyptian army is forced to fight this war with some of the worst equipment around. One of the points where the pressure against Farouk is starting to redline, the military in Egypt have really had enough of this guy. And after the war, that he's been doing all this, like it comes to light that his corruption is just off the chain. And Farouk knows he's in trouble at this point, and he needs to do something to consolidate power. So he decides to do a big nationalistic event, and he says, I'm going to void the Anglo-Egyptian treaty. Egypt is now independent, and we're taking full control of the Suez Canal. The fighting is surprisingly going in Egypt's favor, and the Egyptians are realizing maybe this British Empire we feared for so long, it's been in terminal decline for a while, and everyone knows that maybe they finally hit the point where they can't really fight back. And a bunch of people in the Egyptian military are saying, this is our chance for actual full independence. We might actually get it. And of course, Farouk doesn't have these ideas. He was just using this as a stunt. And of course, as usual, he's embezzling and gambling everything he possibly can. And that hits the point where the military's had enough. And a guy named Colonel Nasser, very famous, will lead a coup against Farouk to get rid of this guy once and for all. They force him to abdicate. And being Farouk, he still steals everything that isn't nailed down, and he flees to Italy. Why this will bring down the British Empire is Colonel Nasser now realizes that he's been able to kick out the puppet government of Farouk out of the country, and the British aren't really putting up much of a fight. Like the Egyptians have managed to seize the Suez Canal, and they're holding it. And they can declare liberation from the British Empire, and the British Empire really can't do anything about it. But this will have ramifications across the rest of the British Empire everywhere, because everyone sees that Britain is a paper tiger now. They are weak, they are worn out from 2 world wars, they are drowning in debt, and their military has absolutely no will left in it to keep the rest of these colonies down. And these colonies are understandably restless. They've been getting, by this point, about 10 years of talk of self-determination, while the British have been mercilessly suppressing them. And this will explode in revolutions, especially, or most famously, in Malaysia and Kenya. And they will win. They will beat the British. And this is pretty much the end. This is when the British rebrands as, we're the Commonwealth. This is a good thing. But they know that the British military dominance is well and truly over. And the person who truly exposes that is our old friend, King Farouk. Anyway, I just think that's a really fun and funny story. He's a fascinating dude. Not only just scratched the surface of his anecdotes, he has many. Most of them are inappropriate, too inappropriate for TikTok. But you can go look them up. Anyway, that's King Farouk. And hopefully that's given you something to think about.